Ladies and gentlemen, happiness. It's something every human being chases, yet so few truly find. We scroll through social media, chase promotions, build relationships, and accumulate things, believing that these will fill the void inside us. Yet, many of us wake up each day feeling empty, dissatisfied, and wondering, why am I not happy? Today, I want to uncover one of the most eye-opening truths about why happiness often eludes us. One of the most overlooked reasons we are unhappy is our constant chase for external validation. From the moment we are born, society teaches us to seek approval, to look for recognition, and to measure our worth through the eyes of others. As children, we learn to smile when praised and frown when criticized. As teenagers, we crave popularity and acceptance from peers. As adults, we measure success by promotions, compliments, likes on social media, or the approval of those around us. We have been conditioned to believe that happiness is something that others give us, something that depends on how others see us or judge us. But the truth is, relying on external validation is a trap. It is a never-ending cycle that leaves us empty, anxious, and perpetually unsatisfied. When we place our happiness in the hands of others, we are essentially giving away our power. We are surrendering the control of our emotions to someone else's opinions, someone else's moods, and someone else's judgments. Imagine a life where every smile you wore, every achievement you celebrated, every decision you made depended on whether someone else approved. That is not freedom. That is not joy. That is living on a leash. External validation creates a dangerous dependency because it is unreliable and fleeting. People may praise you today and criticize you tomorrow. A compliment might make you feel uplifted for a moment, but the satisfaction fades quickly. A social media post might get hundreds of likes, and for a few hours you may feel important, but when the notifications stop, the emptiness returns. The problem is not that recognition feels good. It is natural to enjoy acknowledgement, but that we rely on it as the foundation of our self-worth. Happiness becomes conditional. If someone ignores us, we feel insignificant. If someone criticizes us, we feel devastated. If someone does not validate our effort, we feel unworthy. This is a fragile and unstable way to live. True happiness cannot depend on the approval of others because people's opinions are subjective, temporary, and often irrelevant to our actual value. Consider how many decisions we make each day based on what we think others will think. We hold back our true thoughts in meetings, we dress a certain way to fit in, we speak words we do not fully mean, and we pursue careers we do not love, all in an attempt to gain approval. Every time we act this way, we disconnect from our authentic selves. We live as shadows of what we imagine others want us to be. And the ironic part is, even if we receive that external validation, it rarely leads to lasting happiness. It may give a brief sense of relief or satisfaction, but deep down, we know we are still not fully living for ourselves. The most successful and fulfilled people in the world share a common trait. They do not depend on external validation to measure their worth. They understand that their happiness is internal, not external. They define themselves by their own standards, not by society's, by their own values, not by someone else's judgment. Think of artists, entrepreneurs, or athletes who pursued their vision despite criticism, ridicule, or doubt from others. They did not wait for applause or approval to take the next step. They trusted their instincts, followed their hearts, and measured success by their own progress, not by someone else's acceptance. And that is why they experience true fulfillment and joy. They are not controlled by outside forces, they are guided by their own inner compass. Chasing external validation also creates fear of rejection, fear of failure, and fear of being judged. When your happiness depends on what others think, every word, every action, and every choice becomes risky. You hesitate to express your true self, afraid someone will disapprove. You avoid taking bold steps toward your dreams, afraid someone might criticize you. You censor your voice, hide your ideas, and shrink your potential. And all of this fear, all of this hesitation, builds silently over time, slowly eroding your confidence, your joy, and your sense of purpose. On the other hand, when you stop seeking validation, you break free from fear. You start to act boldly, speak honestly, and pursue your passions without worrying about judgment. That freedom, that courage, is the birthplace of happiness. Let me be clear, this does not mean we should ignore feedback or stop connecting with others. Humans are social creatures, and relationships, collaboration, and constructive feedback are vital. But there is a difference between using feedback as a tool for growth and using it as a measure of self-worth. One empowers you, the other enslaves you. When you make external validation your foundation, you are building on sand. When you make your own values, beliefs, and self-acceptance your foundation, you are building on rock. One shakes with every passing opinion, the other stands firm through storms. The first step to breaking free from this cycle is self-awareness. Recognize the ways you rely on others for your happiness. Notice when you feel anxious because someone has not complimented you, or when you hold back because of fear of judgment. Awareness is the spark that begins change. The second step is self-approval. Begin giving yourself the validation you crave. Celebrate your efforts, your courage, and your progress, even when no one else notices. Reward yourself, praise yourself, and remind yourself of your worth. The third step is authenticity. Allow yourself to live in alignment with your values, speak your truth, and follow your passions, without seeking permission from anyone. Happiness grows when you are free to be yourself, unapologetically and without compromise. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a life where your joy is not dictated by likes, compliments, or recognition. Imagine waking up every day feeling enough, worthy, and complete just as you are. Imagine making decisions, pursuing dreams, and living fully because your heart says so, not because someone else approves. That life is not a fantasy. It is available to everyone willing to stop chasing external validation and start building internal approval. True happiness begins when you reclaim your power, trust yourself, and stop giving your emotions away. When you do that, the freedom, confidence, and peace that follow are unlike anything else you have ever experienced. Another powerful reason we often feel unhappy is because we fail to live in the present. We spend so much time dwelling on the past or worrying about the future that we forget the only moment that truly exists, the now. Think about it. How many hours have you spent replaying old mistakes, regretting decisions you made years ago, or wishing you had acted differently? How many nights have you lain awake, anxious about what might happen tomorrow or the months ahead, imagining worst-case scenarios that may never occur? When we live like this, we are trapped in a cycle of time that is not real. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, and yet we carry the weight of both as if they control our happiness. This constant mental movement, either backward into regret or forward into fear, robs us of our peace, our energy, and the joy that is available to us in this very moment. Living in the past creates a heavy burden. Every memory of failure, rejection, heartbreak, or disappointment acts like a chain that ties us to what no longer exists. We replay conversati, ons we wish we had handled differently, moments we wish we could erase, or choices we wish we had made otherwise. Our minds are like broken records, looping the same scenarios over and over again, and the more we dwell on these memories, the more they shape our present, making us hesitant, insecure, and fearful. The past has value only as a teacher, a guide to show us what we can do differently moving forward. But when we allow it to dominate our thoughts and emotions, it becomes a prison. No amount of regret can change what has already happened, and yet many people allow it to steal their happiness every single day. On the other hand, constantly worrying about the future is equally destructive. We make lists of all the things that could go wrong, all the ways we might fail, all the ways life might disappoint us. We imagine scenarios in our minds that are often exaggerated or entirely unrealistic. This fear of the unknown keeps us from taking risks, from pursuing our dreams, from saying what we truly feel, and from fully engaging in the life in front of us. When our minds are dominated by what-ifs, we miss out on what is. Every moment we spend anxious about the future is a moment of life that slips away without our notice. Worrying does not prevent problems, it only prevents us from experiencing the richness of the present. The most eye-opening truth is that happiness can only exist in the present. No amount of dwelling on the past or fearing the future can bring true joy. Joy is not something we find in memory or in expectation, it is something we create by immersing ourselves fully in the now. When we become present, when we observe life as it is unfolding around us, we notice beauty, connection, and opportunities we would otherwise miss. A smile from a friend, the warmth of sunlight on our skin, the simple act of breathing deeply, these moments are treasures, yet they pass by unnoticed when our minds are elsewhere. By training ourselves to live in the present, we reclaim our happiness from the clutches of regret and anxiety. Practicing presence does not mean ignoring responsibilities or failing to plan for the future. It means anchoring ourselves in the current moment, while still taking intentional actions for what lies ahead. The key is balance. We can learn from the past, prepare for the future, and still fully experience the present. Mindfulness, meditation, and conscious breathing are tools that help us return to the now. By focusing on what we see, hear, feel, and experience in this exact moment, we shift our attention away from what we cannot control and toward what we can appreciate. This shift is subtle but transformational. It reduces stress, clarifies our thinking, and opens our hearts to gratitude and contentment. When you live in the present, every action becomes more meaningful. Eating a meal is no longer a rushed necessity, but a chance to savor flavor and nourish your body. Talking with someone is no longer a routine exchange, but an opportunity to truly listen and connect. Walking outside is no longer a chore, but a chance to feel the earth beneath your feet, the bayar. Ease on your face, the world alive around you. Presence turns ordinary moments into extraordinary ones because we experience them fully, without distraction. And as we accumulate these moments of awareness, we begin to notice a deep and steady sense of happiness that is independent of external circumstances. Many people resist living in the present because it feels uncomfortable. To truly be present, we must face ourselves, our thoughts, and our feelings without distraction. We must acknowledge pain, disappointment, and uncertainty without running away into memories or fantasies. This requires courage. It requires discipline. But it is precisely this courage, the willingness to be fully alive in the moment, that unlocks the door to happiness. When we stop fleeing into the past or obsessing over the future, we discover that life is not something to endure, but something to engage with fully. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is full of people who live as if life is a rehearsal, waiting for some perfect moment to finally feel joy. They postpone laughter until success arrives, postpone love until security is achieved, postpone peace until all problems are solved. But happiness is not a reward to be claimed later, it is a choice to be embraced now. Every second you spend in regret or worry is a second stolen from your life. Every moment you notice, every breath you feel, every sensation you allow yourself to experience fully is a moment you reclaim from unhappiness. By living in the present, you step out of the shadows of time and into the light of life itself. It is a simple truth, but one that is rarely practiced. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but this moment is yours. Right here, right now, you have the power to stop worrying, to stop regretting, and to start living. You can observe, appreciate, and engage with life as it unfolds, and in doing so, you open the door to a happiness that no external circumstance can take away. Presence is not just a practice, T is a way of living, a way of seeing the world, a way of reclaiming the joy that is always waiting for you. One of the most powerful reasons we struggle to find happiness is our constant habit of comparison. From a very young age, we are taught to measure ourselves against others. We are graded in school, ranked in sports, judged in social circles, and constantly exposed to images of people who seem to have more, be more, or achieve more. Social media has amplified this habit, giving us endless streams of highlight reels, perfectly curated lives, and seemingly flawless accomplishments. We scroll, we compare, and we convince ourselves that everyone else is ahead, better, or more deserving of success and happiness than we are. And yet, in doing so, we rob ourselves of one of the most essential ingredients of happiness: appreciation for our own unique journey. Comparison is a thief. It steals joy, confidence, and peace of mind. The moment we look at someone else and measure ourselves against them, we are no longer fully present in our own lives. We focus on what we lack rather than what we have, on what others have achieved rather than the steps we have taken. Even small successes, personal milestones, or achievements lose their shine because they are overshadowed by the illusion that someone else is doing better. The problem is not ambition, drive, or admiration for others. It is the unhealthy habit of using someone else's life as a yardstick for your own worth. No two paths are identical. No two journeys have the same circumstances, challenges, or timing. Yet, when we compare ourselves to others, we ignore this reality and trap ourselves in frustration, envy, and self-doubt. Social media makes this habit even more dangerous. Every post, every story, every picture presents an edited version of reality. We see other successes but not their struggles, their hard work, or the failures that led them to this point. We see the highlight reels but not the behind-the-scenes effort, pain, and persistence. And yet, we compare our whole, messy, authentic lives to these snapshots, forgetting that we are comparing reality to a curated illusion. This creates a false narrative in our minds that everyone else has it better, that we are somehow failing, and that we are less deserving of happiness. The truth, however, is that these comparisons are meaningless. They do not reflect reality, they do not measure your worth, and they do not determine your potential. The act of comparison also erodes self-confidence. Every time you see someone achieving something you want, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy. You begin to doubt your abilities, your decisions, and your path. Why am I not there yet? You ask. Why am I not as successful, as talented, as beautiful, or as rich? This self-doubt is like a shadow that follows you wherever you go, whispering that you are not enough. It clouds your vision, distracts you from your own growth, and keeps you focused on what you lack instead of what you can cultivate. The moment you stop comparing yourself, you free yourself from this shadow. You regain clarity, confidence, and a sense of purpose that comes from within rather than from external benchmarks. Appreciation for your own journey is the antidote to comparison. Every person has a unique path shaped by different experiences, lessons, and timing. Your journey is not better or worse than anyone else's. It is uniquely yours, and that is what makes it valuable. When you shift your focus from others to yourself, you begin to see the progress you have made. You notice the challenges you have overcome, the risks you have taken, the growth you have achieved. You realize that happiness is not a destination measured by someone else's success, but a state of mind cultivated by gratitude for what you have and pride in your own efforts. Every small step, every personal achievement, and every lesson learned is worthy of celebration. Comparison blinds us to this truth while self-appreciation illuminates it. Another hidden cost of comparison is its effect on relationships. When we constantly compare ourselves to others, we develop envy, resentment, or competition instead of support, connection, and empathy. We may secretly hope others fail so we can feel better, or we may diminish their achievements to protect our fragile self-esteem. This mindset creates distance, tension, and negativity in our interactions. On the other hand, when we focus on our own journey and appreciate the successes of others without judgment, we create a space of generosity, inspiration, and collaboration. Celebrating others does not diminish your own value, it expands it. True happiness comes from knowing that your worth is independent of anyone else's accomplishments, and that success can be shared, admired, and celebrated without comparison. Breaking free from comparison requires conscious effort. It begins with awareness, recognizing when you are measuring yourself against someone else and observing the emotions that arise. Notice the thoughts that whisper, "They are better than me," or "I will never reach their level." Once you are aware, you can redirect your focus inward. Practice gratitude for what you have accomplished, and remind yourself that your journey is unique. Set personal goals based on your values, passions, and potential, rather than someone else's standards. Surround yourself with inspiration, not competition, and seek mentors who encourage growth instead of judgment. Over time, this shift in perspective transforms your mindset, replaces envy with appreciation, and replaces dissatisfaction with fulfillment. Ladies and gentlemen, life is not a race against others. It is a journey with your own pace, your own challenges, and your own victories. No one can walk your path but you. No one can experience your growth, your lessons, and your triumphs the way you do. When you embrace this truth, you release the chains of comparison, and happiness becomes possible. You begin to see that your life is enough, your efforts are valuable, and your progress is meaningful. Every step you take forward is a victory, and every moment you spend appreciating your own journey is a step toward lasting joy. Comparison will always be tempting. Society, culture, and technology constantly encourage it. But happiness does not live in the shadows of someone else's life. It lives in the light of your own. Every day you choose to focus on yourself, celebrate your growth, and honor your journey, you step closer to a life of contentment, freedom, and fulfillment. You reclaim your power, you reclaim your joy, and you reclaim the happiness that has been waiting for you all along. Another profound reason we struggle to find happiness is that we often neglect our inner selves. In the hustle and bustle of modern life, we are constantly busy, working long hours, meeting endless obligations, attending social events, and chasing goals we believe will bring fulfillment. We pour our energy into external achievements, material success, and pleasing others, all while ignoring the one person who is with us every moment of our lives, ourselves. We neglect our thoughts, our emotions, our dreams, and our spiritual well-being. And yet, it is the state of our inner self that shapes our experience of the world more than anything else. When we ignore it, we create a void inside, a quiet dissatisfaction that no accomplishment, no purchase, and no external validation can ever fill. The inner self is the core of who we are. It is our mind, our heart, our soul, and the silent observer of our lives. It carries our values, our beliefs, and our unique perspective on the world. It is where creativity, intuition, and true wisdom reside. Yet so many of us ignore it. We silence our inner voice because we are too busy listening to the noise of the outside world. We suppress our emotions because we believe we must appear strong or capable. We deny our dreams because society tells us they are unrealistic. And in doing so, we disconnect from the source of our happiness, peace, and personal power, a neglected inn. Our self is like a garden left untended. Weeds grow, the soil becomes dry, and the beauty and potential that exist within are buried beneath neglect. One of the most common ways people neglect their inner selves is by suppressing emotions. We are taught that certain feelings are inconvenient, unacceptable, or weak. Anger, sadness, fear, or even doubt are often hidden or ignored, while we force ourselves to maintain a facade of strength, positivity, or composure. But emotions are not enemies. They are signals, guides that inform us about what we need, what we value, and what we must change. When we ignore them, we disconnect from our authentic experience. They do not disappear. Instead, they fester, creating inner tension, stress, and a lingering sense of unhappiness. True happiness requires emotional awareness, the ability to recognize, accept, and process our feelings without judgment. Another critical aspect of neglecting the inner self is the failure to nurture our minds and spirits. We feed our bodies with food, but we often starve our minds with negativity, unnecessary stress, or endless distractions. We fill our days with work, obligations, and digital noise, leaving little space for reflection, creativity, or quiet contemplation. Meditation, journaling, prayer, or simply sitting in silence are practices that help us connect with our inner world, recharge our energy, and gain clarity. Without this inner nourishment, we feel restless, anxious, and unfulfilled, no matter how much we achieve in the external world. Happiness is not found only in what we do. It is cultivated from within, through care, awareness, and intentional attention to our mental and spiritual health. Neglecting your inner self also means ignoring your passions and desires. Many people live according to expectations, those of family, society, or friends, rather than following their own dreams. We suppress our creative urges, postpone personal projects, or avoid pursuing goals that truly excite us, because we fear judgment, failure, or uncertainty. But a life without alignment between our inner desires and our outer actions is a life of quiet dissatisfaction. True happiness arises when we listen to our inner voice and take steps, even small ones, toward what truly matters to us. The courage to honor our passions, to explore our talents, and to create the life we envision is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect and self-love. Connection with the inner self also strengthens resilience. Life will always present challenges, obstacles, and disappointments. Without a strong internal foundation, external events can easily shake our sense of well-being. When we cultivate awareness, self-compassion, and inner clarity, we develop a source of strength that cannot be taken away by circumstances. This inner reservoir of peace allows us to face difficulties with calmness, to make decisions with confidence, and to maintain happiness even when life is imperfect. Neglecting this inner work leaves us vulnerable to every curveball, reacting emotionally rather than responding thoughtfully, and constantly searching for external solutions to internal problems. Many people mistakenly believe that happiness is about achieving more, having more, or being more visible to others. They chase material wealth, recognition, or social status, believing these will fill the emptiness inside. But these external pursuits can never replace the richness of a well-nurtured inner life. Inner fulfillment comes from knowing yourself deeply, honoring your emotions, feeding your mind and spirit, pursuing your passions, and living in alignment with your values. It comes from a relationship with yourself that is grounded in love, respect, and awareness. Neglecting this inner connection is like trying to fill a cup with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you pour in from the outside, it will never feel full. The good news is that it is never too late to reconnect with your inner self. You can start today by noticing your thoughts, listening to your emotions, and setting aside time for reflection. You can honor your needs, prioritize your well-being, and explore what truly brings you joy. Small daily practices, such as mindful breathing, journaling your thoughts, taking quiet walks, or pursuing a creative project, can gradually strengthen your connection with yourself. Over time, this inner attention creates a sense of stability, peace and satisfaction that no external achievement can match. Ladies and gentlemen, the path to happiness is not found solely in wealth, status, or approval from others. It is cultivated through a relationship with the most important person in your life, yourself. When you nurture your inner self, honor your emotions, feed your mind and spirit, and follow your passions, you create a foundation of joy, resilience, and fulfillment that is unshakable. Happiness begins within, and the more attention you give to your inner world, the more it will radiate outward into every aspect of your life.